So, you just started using LinkedIn Premium. Now what? Well, on your premium company page, you noticed around 7.5 times more page engagement and 5 times more page views. Well done. And now, new clients are messaging you. All because you're using LinkedIn Premium, which helps you get the business growth you want. Think big, small business. Think big. Start your free trial at linkedin.com/premium small business. That's linkedin.com/premium small business.
This is Rob Long with Martini Shot for The Ankler. Not long ago, I got some bad news about a project I've been working on, and all I could think about was, all right, now where am I going to eat? Now, I don't remember which project specifically, but I do remember the bad news, which is what bad news always is in show business. Some version of that thing that you were doing or thought you were doing is either not happening or is happening, but with other people, people you now have to pretend to be happy for. But because bad news makes me hungry, it also makes me sentimental. I don't know why, but it does. Eat after getting bad news has to be special in some way, historic even. So before I would really sift through my feelings about the news, I needed to decide on food, which isn't unusual, I think. I mean, years ago, an emergency medical technician I knew in Los Angeles told me that for weeks after the death of television legend Lucille Ball, he'd pick people up in his ambulance, some of whom were in, really serious trouble. And as the ambulance sped away in the direction of the nearest hospital, a lot of them would pull the oxygen mask away from their faces to make a request. "I want to go where Lucy died," they'd say. Meaning, take me to Cedars-Sinai Hospital. That's where Lucille Ball died, and that's where they wanted to go to. Probably not to die, he told me, but because this is Los Angeles and people want a little, celebrity pixie dust wherever they can find it. "You just missed Alex Karras," someone told me once at a key-making booth a long time ago when the former football player was on the TV show Webster. And though I didn't, watch that show or really know who Alex Karras was, I have to admit I thought to myself, wow, this is probably a good place to get my keys made. It was as good as any other place, it turned out. I mean, the keys worked. I was able to get into my place. The sideways celebrity endorsement of Alex Karras held up under scrutiny, like an early pre-internet Yelp review. "Well, if this dry cleaner's good enough for Conrad Bain, it's good enough for me," that kind of thing. But celebrities are everywhere, so to me anyway, who ate here or bought cupcakes there isn't as interesting as what happened in that booth at the old Nicodel restaurant, which used to be on Melrose Avenue, tucked into a space between the old RKO studio, ironically also owned by Lucille Ball, and Paramount Studios. And that is where Desi Arnaz, legend has it, told William Frawley, the guy who played Fred Mertz, that if he stopped drinking, he could be the neighbor in the I Love Lucy show, which was about to start production in New York City. "Hey, let's sit in that booth," we'd always say when we stopped in for a, pretty awful bite. It's not that much different from "I Want to Go Where Lucy Died," frankly, when you think about it. And when they tore down the Nicodel to put in a parking lot, yes, it's a Joni Mitchell song, and it wasn't really a tragedy, honestly, because the food wasn't good. And eventually, I parked in that parking lot for almost 10 years, and it was really close to my office. But I felt like what true old-time Angelinos must have felt when they closed up the pony ride lot on the corner of La Cienega and Beverly Boulevard, which was a place I'd been told that if your parents were divorced, that's where your dad took you on Saturday mornings. And apparently that's where a lot of single moms went too, because of course, that's where the single dads were. It is now the Beverly Center, a huge brown mountain of a shopping mall, which is either sad or not, depending on how sentimental you are about these things. Like the parking lot that replaced the Nicodel, it was sort of sad, I guess, but honestly, also really convenient. I once ate a sad little lonely lunch at a deli in the Valley, and 2 booths over, a very powerful Hollywood executive was having lunch with a former employee, someone he had fired pretty publicly a few years before. And it seemed like an awkward but ultimately friendly make-up lunch. I mean, they probably decided to do it in this deli because, well, who else would be there to see it? Some guy whose show they may or may not have canceled 10 years ago. And at the time I thought, well, that's really nice. It's nice that they're still having lunch together. It's nice that, people get over things. When I remembered that, I knew that that was where I needed to eat. after I got my bad news. And I knew exactly where I needed to sit. I needed to sit in that booth, in the place where I once saw people get over something. And it worked. I got over it. But where you're going to eat, it's a very useful question to ask. Or maybe the better way to put it is, where are you going to eat that suits your present mood, your state of joy or heartbreak, your need to feel fat and happy or rich and cosseted? In other words, in a lot of ways, we choose where we're going to eat the way we choose what we're going to watch. And for most of show business history, the mix of product has been sort of the same for both categories. Some high end titles like fancy restaurants, often foreign, like fancy movies. Some solid performers that never ever go out of style and always deliver. That's the sweet spot. That's where you really want to eat most of the time. And some, dirty junk food spots that are richly satisfying, but mostly bad for you. The kind of places where you feel you need to have an excuse ready if you run into someone you know, the kind of movie or TV show that you pretend you're not really into. So if we think of show business like we think of restaurants, which a lot of us do, which at least I do, what's strange is how few outfits are trying to deliver that happy middle zone solution. We have a lot of irritating, small plate, pretentious waiter kinds of places. We have some interesting places with foreign menus and mostly noodles, but we don't have a lot of, what is that place? Houston's? You know that place, Houston's? We don't have a lot of Houston's on the screen. We don't have a lot of happy spots you just slip into. Places where everyone is deciding what to watch or where to eat, and everyone can agree on that. I mean, look, if I was asked to construct the ideal restaurant, which is pretty much the way I would just construct the ideal TV show or movie, I would make sure the restaurant had the following crucial features. In the first place, there'd be a long bar just inside the door, long enough so that groups of 2 or 3 people could gather over a drink as they wait for their table, with a curve at one end so that solo drinkers and diners could sit quietly with a book and feel that gloriously metropolitan sensation of being alone in a crowd. The bartenders, of course, would be gruffly professional, but when one of the customers at the bar was overheard saying something, you know, nasty or ludicrous or just stupid, you could catch the eye of the bartender and both share a barely perceptible get a load of that clown eye raise. And then there would probably be a plainclothes cop or two, which you wouldn't notice until one of them laughed and leaned back from the bar, and you'd see the flash of the badge on the belt, or maybe the worn leather holster at the hip. Now, you wouldn't go to my ideal restaurant, for the food. I mean, the menu would stick to the classics: steaks, broiled fish, sides of buttered broccoli and baked potatoes. There would be a salad, heavy on the iceberg lettuce, and a choice of dressings that have names that you'd recognize from the bottles at the high-end grocery store. But again, you wouldn't be going there for the food. You'd go there for the feeling of perching on a bar stool or sliding into a booth and feeling at home, taken care of, briefly safe from whatever chaos or bad news was waiting for you outside. In the world of my ideal restaurant, in the world where show business delivers what people really want, in other words, the heartbreak or bad mood or city fatigue could wait politely on the street as you fortified yourself with prime rib or baked potato with extra butter and a perfectly unfussy martini. My ideal restaurant, in other words, would be more than a place to eat and drink. It would be someone's place and bear the unmistakable imprint of its owner and impresario. The walls probably would be festooned with pictures of the proprietor with local celebrities and politicians. There'd be some family memorabilia, framed testimonial letters, an American flag would be there somewhere. It wouldn't be decorated so much, but it would be lived. Now, here's the good news, and the bad news comes later. My ideal restaurant actually existed. It was called Neary's, and you could find it on 57th Street in Manhattan between 1st and 2nd Avenues, and it was named after its longtime owner, Jimmy Neary, who died in 2021. And the place was everything you want a restaurant to be, and maybe more importantly, absolutely nothing that you don't want a restaurant to be, since it opened on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, 1967. The gimlet-eyed Jimmy Neary ran the place with charm and laughter. Born in Sligo, Ireland, his life was one of those classic American folktales, an immigrant story about the big city, hard work, faith, family, civic pride. The walls were, in fact, festooned with pictures and letters and city proclamations, but the true measure of Jimmy Neary's accomplishments were the customers who filled the place every night, looking for a little cheer in a tough city, looking to get a seat at Jimmy Neary's welcome table. And that, as I said, was the good news. The bad news is that Neary's closed last summer, and I'm not sure why exactly. It's tempting to come up with all sorts of theories about taxes and inflation and COVID and, pick your favorite social ill. But it's also possible that it's just the way it is with family businesses. Neary's had been ably and deftly led by Jimmy Neary's daughter, Una, and the rest of the family. But you know how it goes. The first generation immigrant builds a business so the subsequent generations can go to law school and medical school and live a different part of the American dream. Jimmy Neary built a business and a family and a place for New Yorkers to go when they wanted to go home, but home was too far away or had other complications. I will miss and do miss sitting at the corner of the bar to the right, just inside the door, tucking into a prime rib and a drink before heading out to face the world. Just as I miss when I, doing my best working in show business, tried at least to deliver funny, appealing shows with material that was fresh but recognizable. When, especially in the summer, you always had a place to go that was right for whatever mood you were in. I mean, that's what the late Jimmy Neary knew how to do. And that's why, if you're running a studio or deciding what movies and TV shows to make, you would be smart to find a great classic restaurant, hang out there for a while, and then run your company the way Jimmy Neary ran his. And that's it for this week. Next week, the book of the summer. For The Ankler, this is Rob Long with Martini Shot.